Match number 5, Bemular versus Mecha-King Ghidorah by Birdman.
Oh boy, another Birdman match again.
Within the cockpit of mankind's last marvel, Major Kuriko Sugimori ran a diagnostic check of the systems. At this crucial stage, the slightest failure would have disastrous consequences. To her relief, no errors were detected. She leaned back into her chair, letting out a sigh of relief and wiping sweat from her forehead. Her hands clenched the control stick firmly, mentally preparing herself for the task ahead. The fate of her species rested on the actions she was about to commit. Only she and the augmented creature she controlled could avert the terrible future from which they had come from. The Earth was in ruin. Monster attacks had suddenly spiked over the years, but nothing could have prepared humanity for what would inevitably occur. In 2052, the monsters attacked. All of them. Regardless of origin or alliance, they laid waste to human civilization. It was a losing battle from the start. Seeing no future for themselves, the brightest of mankind set their sights on altering the past. Pulling the last of their resources, they succeeded in developing an actual time machine. It was this creation that propelled Kiriko's weapon through the space-time continuum to the distant past, where she could bring hope to the future. Her sole mission was simple, but difficult. Destroy all monsters. The sky rippled and warped. Crackling bolts and flashing lightning signaled the creation of a wormhole into the fabric of time itself. A glowing form emerged from the portal, soaring high over the city. Its energy coating faded, revealing the mechanical monster beneath. The setting sun made Mecha-King Ghidorah's armor shine like the diamond it was composed of. Two massive wings forged from solar panels both steered and gathered energy for the monolith. Hidden thrusters allowed it to defy gravity. Two golden tails trailed behind, tipped with metallic claws. The Hydra's two organic heads released sinister cackles, with the mechanical head joining with its artificial intimidation. Through its eyes, Kuriko scanned the landscape below, examining the world she never knew. Its grandeur and beauty was breathtaking, but it could not distract her from her goal. The long-range scanners detected a massive disturbance in the southwest of the city. Her brow set in determination. Kuriko directed Mecha-King Ghidorah to the displayed coordinates. Black smog clouded most of the district. Fires raged and buildings toppled as Mecha-King Ghidorah flew past, uncaring. Over the crackling flames and screams of helpless people, one sound caught Kuriko's attention. A deafening shriek, one with a sound of familiarness to it. A horrified gasp escaped her lips as she hesitated, memories of a creature with a similar cry flashing before her eyes. Through the smoke, a lean shape appeared. Kuriko immediately recognized it was not the same creature from her memories, and she mentally breathed in relief. As Mecha-King Ghidorah closed the distance, the attacker revealed itself. Dirty green spikes and scales made up its form. Tiny Tyrannosaurus-like arms wiggled in an attempt to intimidate. Its glowing yellow eyes shot a look of hate above a pair of snarling jaws. Within Mecha-King Ghidorah's cockpit, the built-in biography identified the creature. Biography, that's such a good word. Identified the creature and opened the related files for its pilot to read. Kuriko's eyes widened as she realized that it was the first creature in a long line of attackers that would set in motion the event that devastated her world. Her mouth curved into a smile, taking full pride in her coming actions. Bemular stared up at the upgraded Hydra, letting loose a shriek of utter rage. Mecha-King Ghidorah retaliated not with its signature chorus, but with a storm of energy bolts. Its three maws fired one after the other with destructive lightning-like beams, ripping the landscape asunder and assaulting Bemular's flesh. Hot sparks and bright flames flew from the reptile's torso as he squealed in pain and staggered back. Kuriko was unrelenting, unloading another wave of gravity beams and triple beam lasers upon her helpless target. What the heck is going on there?
Oh wow, I didn't know we were moving stuff while we read.
I guess so. Bemular cried out as a purple and white energy bolt exploded against his head, toppling the alien invader. From her position, Kuriko couldn't help but laugh. The technicians had not lied about Mecha-King Ghidorah's power. It had barely been a minute and her first target was on the ropes. Exterminating the Emerald Fiend should have been easy, but Kuriko, despite her noble goal, was still human. She would not destroy Bemular without showing the creature how utterly outmatched it was, and announced to the modern world their new savior. Pass.
The cyborg dragon descended to the ground, angling its feet parallel to the road, off its engines and dropped to the ground. The shaking earth prompted Bemular to rise. He stood to eat the land, crying out in an attempt to intimidate. Mecha-King Ghidorah was no longer akin to things such as everything that made it had been stripped away to make room for the computers that controlled and directed it. All that was left was a shell, filled with humanity's desire to survive, live long and prosper. It surged forward, catching Bemular
That
by
was Star
surprise.
Trek reference.
Maybe.
This reminds me of that episode from Star Trek.
Its organic head streaked and shot forth, bashing the living spiked creature like living fish. Bemular stumbled back as the golden head struck him again and again, forcing the reptile to go where it wanted. But the reptilian scourge would not submit to the dragon's wishes. As the left head lunged again, Bemular's jaw clamped around its neck. The head squirmed and cackled as the alien monster's teeth sank into its golden scale. The other living head parted its jaws and spat a gravity bolt into Bemular's neck. The reptile released its hold, but not without leaving deep punches in the flesh of the left head. As golden blood dripped from its wounds, Kuriko pressed the command to the controls and Mecha-King Ghidorah leapt into the air. Its legs lifted and its feet smashed into Bemular's chest, throwing him to the tarmac. The free his vulnerable shape, slamming into his chest and pushing him along the street. He writhed in agony, helpless to defend himself as he was forced inside the base of his building. Stirring up dust and glasses, tons of steel and concrete descended on Bemular. The setting dust did not deter Kuriko in her search for Bemular's body. Advanced sensors in Mecha-King Ghidorah's robotic head scanned around the rubble in a variety of viewing modes. Without warning, a glowing orb shot upwards out of the debris, racing skywards at high velocity. Ghidorah's head tracked the rising energy body and lightning-like energy. As it fell to the earth in a blaze, the augmented monster moved to intercept its occupant. The spear crashed into the earth, erupting into a ball of blue fire. From the inferno, Bemular's bruised and bleeding form set fierce sapphire flames churning behind his lips. The alien aggressor's mouth opened, firing its pale heat wave at Mecha-King Ghidorah's metallic chest plate. The blast shook the cyborg greatly, fire and smoke spitting from the Kuriko held the controls as tight as she could to prevent herself from being thrown from her chair. In the cockpit, several systems overloaded from the intense heat, forcing her to cover her head. Mecha-King Ghidorah cried out at the reptilian as Kuriko attempted to reboot its damaged systems, its metallic armor glowing bright orange. Our signature screeching cry sounded as he ran towards the sun's side. Before he could make it, Kuriko managed to get the titanic dragon to her commands. Its outer heads fired, striking the street inches before Bemular. The emerald monster cried out as the road before him exploded and hot flames licked at his legs. He fell back, allowing Kuriko to turn Mecha-King Ghidorah's fire on him. The artificial head fired beam his assault as they surged towards the target. Bemular leapt to the side at the last moment, recognizing his potential destruction, as the spot where he stood blossomed into a collar of fire towards his attack. Through Mecha Ghidorah's advanced vision, Kuriko tracked Bemular's vision movements. She watched the reptile take cover behind the skyscraper. A quick scan revealed several humans within. Kuriko was quick to deem the sacrifices necessary. After bonding Mecha-King Ghidorah's control stick, ordering the right and center heads to fire. They complied, tearing through the structures of gravity beam and triple beam laser alike. A wall of in the eviscerated building. Through it shot Bemular. Using the heat to amplify its energy, it charged at the mechanical titan with great force. Rico shot back. The mighty cyborg fell backwards, forcing its massive shape into the pavement. Alarms blared and lights flashed within the cockpit, and Rico struggled not to fall into the realm of unconsciousness. Blood trickled from a cut in her forehead, staining half of her vision red. On the flickering and cracks before her, while I moved tauntingly slowly towards the crippled machine. An alert appeared in the corner of the screen, informing Rico of a human presence. Under a fallen steel girder, a car lay. Occupants shouted in the windows for anyone to help as Bemular loomed nearer. Shivering, her breath rapid. Its empty scenario flashed before her. The family in the car were replaced with their own parents, crying for help as an emerald titan loomed. Bemular's roar sounded, but Ryoko could not hear it. Instead, she heard the cry of the monster that haunted her since he was a child. To her horror, Bemular stopped as he noticed the vehicle. His eyes narrowed in disgust. The parents hugged their child as his foot came down, crushing the car to scrap. Bemular did not hear her, continuing to advance as her mind distorted his image into another reptilian. Alien's green coloration did not help to prevent the broken woman from confusing Bemular with Godzilla. He screamed with rage, jerking his control stick forwards. Mecha-King Ghidorah awkwardly rose, shrieking at the emerald reptile. Sparks and smoke sparked from the joints in its armor with each movement. Pass.
You bastard.
She screamed as Mecha-King Ghidorah's living heads fired their golden bolts, launching flames and chunks of flesh from Bemular's body. He squealed, rearing his head back in anguish as flames flickered in his throat. His jaws aimed at his enemy and a stream of concentrated heat energy launched. Kariko jammed down the controller's stick trigger again, firing the robot's head purple full and white energy bolt. It met Bemular's fiery ray, finding back the destructive force as the reptile forced every ounce of its strength back into it. With another input command, Mecha-King Ghidorah's other heads added their power to the struggle. 30 beams that pushed back the heat wave, slamming it back into Bemular's gaping maw. Explosions rocketed the green field as he stumbled, his lips scorched and bleeding. Mecha-King Ghidorah charged, jumping to the air and firing its boosters. It spun around in the air and its tails extended, smashing their metallic tips across the Bemular's skull. As its rotation ceased, Bemular's head snapped to face it. Another pale heat wave shot forth, engulfing the cyborg's underside in a cocoon of fire. Kariko tightened her grip on the controls and grit her teeth as the Hydra crashed to the ground, fire and sparks shooting from exposed circuitry. Grinning in pride, Bemular cried out and stepped closer. Almost immediately, Mecha-King Ghidorah stood, flapping its gigantic wings to generate a powerful gust, pushing Bemular back. The multi-headed Titan's center head shot forward, coiling its serpentine, segmented neck around Bemular's throat. With ease, it carried the monster off the street and tossed him aside. The reptile's form embedded into a towering building, but the structure did not fall. Instead, it held the invader in place as Mecha-King Ghidorah turned its firepower on him. Bemular was struck by the combined bolts, forcing the reptile deep into the collapsing structure. His tormented roar echoed as an explosion tore out of what remained of the building, removing it from sight. In the cockpit of the mechanical dragon, Kuriko panted heavily. Her hands remained tight around the control stick, ready to fire again at the moment's pace. At a moment's notice. Mecha-King Ghidorah's reinforced chest plate sparked and smoked. Golden blood trickled from cuts and punctures in its shining scales. But the savior of man's future was more than capable of continuing the fight. Can Mecha-King Ghidorah bleed?
I mean, he is a cyborg, so it just depends
True.
on what's underneath the metallic body. But I'd imagine there has to be some kind of circulating, some kind of blood system, but he has to have bloods and veins at least, even if it's under metallic stuff. I'd imagine, but
True.
so
Through the dust and smoke, a blue glow materialized. Kuriko growled at the shining travel sphere. As the shining travel sphere came into view through its temporary cover, she targeted the glowing orb, unaware of the readings from several scanners reporting an unusual energy signature. Her thumb pressed in the trigger. Well, not on the trigger. Gosh darn it, Kaiju X. Causing a torrent of golden, white, and purple energy bolts to fire. From the cybernetic monster's mouths,
well, no,
orbs-
pressed in the trigger wouldn't be wrong. It's her thumb pressing the trigger in, so.
True.
So, but keep reading.
The orb was ravaged by lightning-like blast, but it did not shatter. Observing this unusual outcome, Kuriko's brow furrowed as she continued the bombardment. Alarms and warning flashed all around her. She snapped to attention, seeking the source of the problem. A reading appeared on the screen before her, registering an increase in the energy signature it had detected before. Another warning popped up, informing Kuriko of massive energy loss in the fuel cells. Kuriko's widened as she realized the truth of the matter. What widened? We'll never know. Fear wasn't repelling the beams, it was absorbing them. She ceased the assault, but the damage seemed to have already been done. The sapphire orb pulsed with light, its rhythm getting quicker and quicker with every second. Suddenly, it exploded, washing the landscape in blinding blue light. Kuriko cried out as it assaulted her vision, and protected her face. and protected her face with her arms. As quick as it appeared, the light retreated. Lowering her arms, Kuriko caught sight of the glowing figure before her mighty machine. The radiance surrounding Bemular dimmed into nothingness, showing to the cyborg and its pilot his evolved form. His flesh, once a shade of green, was now a mixture of browns and grays. Blue spikes jolted out of everywhere but his arms, legs, and underbelly. On either side of his head, a long horn curved upwards. The monster reeled, reared back, and bellowed to the heavens, revealing his new power. Paralyzed in shock, Kuriko could only watch on as empowered Bemular turned his gaze towards her. His lips moved. His lips morphed into an evil grin as he strode towards her living bunker. Congratulations, your Bemular has evolved into empowered Bemular. Fuck. Snapping from her stunned state, Mecha-King Ghidorah's pilot punched the fire button, assaulting the reptilian creature once more, and the button, since she assaulted it. Oh, since you punched it. Jeez. Smoke and sparks jumped from his scales as he pushed forward, unfazed. His head lowered, allowing Mecha-King Ghidorah's energy bolts to strike his massive horns. The two features glowed brightly, drawing the blast into Bemular's body. As the last of the energy vanished into them, he stood tall, blue light emerging in his maw. Mecha-King Ghidorah's thrusters fired as it leapt into the air, but it was too slow and too large to dodge the upcoming attack. Bemular's hyper-pale heat wave lanced into the cyborg's metallic chest, blasting the Hydra from its element. With all her skill at piloting and sheer luck, Kriko landed Mecha-King Ghidorah on its feet. As Bemular charged, the cybernetic dragon's heads lashed out, cackling like banshees. The three sets of jaws chewed at the enhanced reptile's flesh, and three heads bashed at its reinforced scales. Bemular only screeched in mockery as its efforts. With a single sweep of his head, knocked the coiling necks away. He surged forward, lowering his head as he charged like a mad bull. With no way to avoid the alien, Kriko could only brace for impact. Pass.
Since I have 7, does anyone want to take 2 of them or whatever?
I'll take 2.
Alright.
Okay, cool.
The spike-armored extraterrestrial rammed into the helpless cyborg. His horns pierced its thick armor, stabbing into vile inner workings and tearing them out as Mecha-King Ghidorah was thrown back by the impact. His twin horns lit up, and a concentrated blast of raw heat fired, striking and pushing the multi-headed dragon further back. Kiriko screamed as dozens of systems exploded into fire and sparks within the cockpit. In a panic, she punched down the trigger, firing wildly in an attempt to find Bemular. Mecha-King Ghidorah's heads whipped and flailed as they ravaged the structures around them, while Bemular watched on, screeching mockingly as he strode forward. Kriko's angry gaze fell on the reptile's approaching form on her monitor. She rapidly performed a system check, accessing what systems still worked. To her relief, the time vessel was still intact. If her next attack failed, she would be able to escape and to form a counterattack to destroy the enhanced creature of her own creation. Mecha-King Ghidorah's artificial head snapped up. Its jaws opened, but its signature blast did not fire. Instead, a green wave of energy was projected onto the confused Bemular. Shrieking in alarm, the space monster was suddenly pulled towards the mechanical dragon, as Mecha-King Ghidorah's tractor beam pulled the alien to range. Kriko pulled a lever in the roof of the cockpit. 4 hatches on Mecha-King Ghidorah's chest opened, each shooting out a clamp attached to a cable. They latched on Bemular's legs and horn, zapping the monster with electrical pulses. As Bemular screamed, the cyborg's 3 heads unleashed their energy attacks onto the struggling reptile. On the same lever, Kriko pressed a button, causing the center of Mecha-King Ghidorah's chest to open into a massive clamp. The machine hand surged forward, clamping it tightly around its captive midsection. More surges of electricity pulsed from the cables and wires connecting the machine hand to Mecha-King Ghidorah and into Bemular's scaly hide. Kriko couldn't help but smile as the creature writhed under the combined assault. Pass.
I got 5 more. Does anyone want to take 2 more? Her delight suddenly turned to horror as the alien's horns began to glow. The electricity stopped surging to his flesh and was drawn features, along with Mecha-King Ghidorah's energy bolt. A loud whine filled the air as Bemular transformed the collected energy to fuel his own power. The hyper-pale heat wave fired, striking the exposed opening with a machine hand connected to the Leviathan. A massive blast tore out of the Hydra's chest, flooding the machinery and flesh across the landscape. Blood and water spurted out of Mecha-King Ghidorah's mouth as it fell back. The cables in the machine hand no longer joined to its body, shaking the loose cables. I hear housework going on.
From someone.
Shaking the loose cables from its form, Bemular's mouth churned with fire as Mecha-King Ghidorah's open chest flickered with bright flame. Weighing up her options, Kriko accepted that the battle was lost. Mecha-King Ghidorah was no longer able to fight, and it was unlikely to escape in its condition. In a series of commands, the cockpit lurched backwards into the back of the crippled dragon. Small V-shaped ship detached from its back and flew into sky. Seconds later, a large orb of flaming energy was spat out of Bemular's maw. The projectile crushed into Mecha-King Ghidorah's open mind and collapsed as the blast ripped apart its life support system. Observing the wreckage of the time ship squandered, Kriko's hiding feet permission was a failure. Without Mecha-King Ghidorah, there was nothing she could do to prevent the terrible future that awaited humanity. Her hand tightened around the controller. No, that was not the case. She was in possession of knowledge and technology from the future. She would seek out this time's defense forces and use the resources of the future's strength in today's arsenal. When the apocalypse came, the world would be ready this time. The future could still be. I think you forgot a sentence there. Cut off for no reason. Bright blast of energy engulfed the craft's right wing. Alarms blared as the time ship spiraled out of control. Kriko's excellent piloting skills could stop the ship from crashing to the ground. The lights flickered and the air became hard to breathe as she tried to kick open the door, but it would not budge. Turning her attention to the screen, she saw Bemular's form approach. She yelled and screamed as she tried to beat down the jam door, but it refused to yield. She sank to the floor, acknowledging the futility of this situation. She sat down in the table, accepting her. All part of her. Okay, I was waiting for all the static to go away. A small part of her wondered if this was punishment or attempting to alter the flow of time. History demanded that the world fall to the monsterhood. When she tried to change that timeline, made its own alterations, shared the original outcome. She had not prevented the destruction of humanity, she had accelerated it. She had created a monster that would set the events in motion. Kriko closed her eyes as Bemular shrieked above her. The extraterrestrial what came down on the vessel and she knew nothing more. Winner, Bemular.
Yeah.
So, with that ending, is this like a Terminator sequel?
Where all leads to the inevitability? Kinda, I suppose. No, honestly, this one's actually kind of a decent match, and I do enjoy the use of empowered Bemular here. That was actually kind of a lot of fun to see a transformation that could actually go toe to toe against Mecha-King Ghidorah, and yeah, that was actually kind of nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I actually really like this match.
Mm-hmm. Right. So this is actually legitimately good. And there's nothing I don't think there was anything that could be done to alter it to make it KWC fit. Like, just to make Bemular magically that powerful just would feel out of character for him. So, honestly, I think this match really works for KWCE and, just decent use of the power. So, and yes, I know the card makes mention of the homing tasers and absorption shield, but this was written way before that was implemented, so that's why you don't see them used here. So, shh.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's
Gosh
it.
darn it, Kaiju Match.
But yeah, honestly, this falls a little bit more on the like a little bit more of a traditional match. But I am intrigued with some aspects of this world for this particular match, like just a future where all the monsters just decided to completely ransack humanity and just wreck them. It was like, regardless if you were space or Earth, humans were being destroyed. Don't know why. And I do always enjoy the whole like you cannot alter time, but you can only accelerate what was meant to happen sort of thing. I always enjoy that sort of thing when it comes to time travel. So nice to see that here as well. And
Yeah.
overall, just decent, fun, good match. So, Birdman, do you have anything else to add on, or
Any fun facts?
This was match. I planned around this like a long way in advance, like even before the KWCE was created, back when Empowered by Memular was first announced. I really was actually hoping I could actually get this to see actual KWC, but again, the rules about monster transformations and all that stuff couldn't make it in. At least managed to make it in here, so
yep,
it got in at least in something KWCE related.
hooray! All right, Joe, do you have anything to add on, or?
That was it.
Oh, I was asking Joe.
I thought this was a really fun match, and I like the story. I liked Kariko in this match. I thought she was well handled. I liked her sort of vengeful nature in this match. And it's something I kind of want to do in a match of my own, which was completely coincidental because I planned it before I read this. But I really enjoyed this one. And kind of a fun fact, this was posted on my birthday.
Aw, that's nice. All right, Alex, do you have anything else to add on, or? That is Alex's impression of Bemular, anyway.
No, that's kind of my thought on the match.
Ah.
Oh.
Didn't care for it. I mean, I liked the premise and the idea behind it. I don't know. It just didn't really sit with me, or it didn't really make me enthused about it. I kind of didn't really care for the fight, to be honest.
Yeah, it was just kind of a B-war.
Yeah, it was just them fighting, and I mean the idea of, like you said about the whole time traveling, you can't change time but accelerate. That was kind of neat, but other than that, I kind of felt rather bored by it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like too character heavy or whatever. It's just kind of like, it's just a fight. It's a little bit more back to basics. But at the very least, it felt like we at least had even though Kariko didn't speak a lot, like all she really said was, "You bastard." At the very least, I felt like, once again, this is like, although I think like matches 3 and 4 did it better, this is probably just another example what match 2 should have done. Like, at least we had a character to follow, even if she was just there to pilot Mecha-King. Like,
it's better than match 1 and 2, but it's not as good as 3, and it's nowhere near as great as match 4.
Right. I can understand.
I honestly kind of find this match a little overrated from the way people talk about it a lot. Again, and if you like it, that's fine. I have no problems with it.
Right. It's just it's not a narrative story. It's just a fight.
Yeah, I just honestly found this one kind of bland.
Yeah.
It has the nice
can see
exposition at the beginning and the whole idea of time travel, but it kind of gets bogged down by just two monsters hitting each other.
I can see that. I can see that. So,
Yeah. I get that.
so anyway, yeah. With all that said, this has been Match 5, and we will see you guys next time for Match 6. King Ghidorah Millennium versus Mothra 2004, and Baragon Millennium versus Orochi Heisei. Until then, folks.